The Wild West was no stranger to feuds. Men fought over land, water, and cattle as if the frontier had no law but the gun. But in Texas during the late 1870s, one feud grew so bloody, so relentless, that it came to be known as the Ranch War that drenched Texas in blood. It began with a fence, and it ended with more than 50 dead men scattered across the plains. In the years after the Civil War, Texas was a land in transition. Open-range ranching had been the way of life for generations. Cattle grazed freely across millions of acres, and cowboys drove herds north to the railheads. But barbed wire had just been invented. Suddenly, wealthy ranchers began fencing off land, claiming water holes and grazing pastures as their own. For smaller ranchers and open-range cowboys, this was nothing less than theft. The stage was set for war. The trouble started in 1876 when the powerful McCallister Ranch began stringing barbed wire across hundreds of square miles in West Texas. They claimed not just their land, but also the only reliable river in the region. Neighboring ranchers protested. Cowboys cut the wires at night, reopening the range. McCallister hired gunmen to patrol the fences. One morning, 2 cowboys were found dead near a cut fence line, their bodies riddled with bullets. The message was clear: cross the McCallisters, and you die. Small ranchers banded together, forming what they called the Free Grazers Association. At night, they rode with wire cutters, slashing miles of fence and driving McCallister cattle off the river. The McCallisters retaliated by hiring more gunmen, men with reputations as killers. The feud escalated into open war. By the spring of 1877, gun battles erupted in the canyons and prairies. Ambushes became common. Cattle were stolen, barns burned, and men hunted each other like wolves. The frontier press called it the Texas Cattle War. The bloodiest clash came at Hollow Creek. A posse of free grazers cornered McCallister riders near a narrow ford. Outnumbered and trapped, the McCallister men dug in, using their saddles as barricades. The fight lasted half a day, filling the creek red. When it was over, 17 men lay dead, and the survivors fled on foot. The battle shocked even hardened cowboys. It was like war, one witness said. Not a feud, but war. Sheriffs tried to intervene, but most were powerless, or paid off by one side or the other. The Texas Rangers were eventually dispatched, but even they were drawn into the conflict. Some rangers sided with the ranch barons, others with the free grazers. The war blurred the line between law and outlaw until nobody could tell one from the other. The fighting wasn't just shootouts. Both sides turned to sabotage. Free grazers poisoned wells with carcasses to starve McCallister cattle. The McCallisters struck back by hiring railroad toughs to torch homesteads. Families fled in terror. Towns became armed camps. One McCallister gunman, known as Black Jack Dempsey, earned a reputation as the most feared killer of the war. He was said to have gunned down a dozen free grazers, earning $50 for every corpse he left behind, but even he eventually fell. In 1878, he was ambushed outside a saloon, shot down by 3 masked riders. By 1879, the war had raged for 3 years, leaving fields littered with bones and entire communities divided. The final turning point came when the free grazers attacked the McCallister Ranch headquarters in a midnight raid. The gunfight lasted hours, echoing across the plains. By dawn, the ranch house was in flames, and the patriarch, Thomas McCallister, lay dead on the porch with 6 bullets in his chest. Leaderless, the McCallister empire began to crumble. When the smoke cleared, historians estimate more than 50 men had died in the Texas Ranch War. Some say it was closer to 100 if you count the missing. Families were shattered, fortunes ruined, but barbed wire still won. By the 1880s, open-range grazing was finished. The frontier was fenced, the land divided, and the old way of life, the freedom of the cowboy on open plains, was gone forever. The ranch war that drenched Texas in blood became a symbol of the frontier's ruthless transformation. It wasn't just a feud between neighbors. It was the death of an era, the end of the open range and the birth of modern ranching. For the cowboys who lived through it, the war proved one bitter truth. The West wasn't conquered by 6-shooters alone. Sometimes it was conquered by wire. The Wild West is remembered for duels in dusty streets and outlaws robbing banks. But the blood spilled in the Texas Ranch War tells a deeper story of greed, survival, and the unstoppable march of change. And for those who fought and died in that war, their legacy remains written not on paper but in the soil of Texas itself. If this tale of barbed wire and bloodshed gripped you, ride with us by subscribing to West Side Tales. More stories of outlaws, ranchers, and legends of the frontier await.